Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Nabiyyin Kareem. Amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Last time we completed just the introduction part where we discussed about how the food that we eat affects our body, and we also discussed, in general, just what the whole series is going to be about. This is our second session, so we'll just move on from there. Today, I'm going to speak about 3 important factors that can help you change your life instantly. And it's not something which is, a one-time thing. It's something which is a part of our daily life every single day. So to remember it in a better way, just remember it as the 3 S's, meaning S, the letter S. And what are those 3 important factors that will help you change your life just like if you start from today itself on a daily basis? If you just take care of these 3 things which I'm going to tell you, you will see a huge difference in your life. In fact, people who they keep trying all the possible ways to improve their health, to heal if they're suffering from any diseases, or just to lose weight in general, right? If you follow these 3 points that I'm going to mention now, automatically you will see the difference in a few days. And it's something which is very basic, very simple, which, if I say it right now, you'll be like, oh, okay, we already know it, but we don't really practice it. And what are the 3 S's? It's sleep, stress, and self-discipline. And we'll do each one of these in detail today, inshallah. But we'll go one by one. Why? If I have to explain in short, why sleep? Because sleep is the best medicine you can give your body. I'm talking about a moderate amount of sleep, not oversleeping and not, cutting down on sleep. Because sometimes when we cut down on just the basic amount of sleep that we need on a daily basis, it automatically affects our immune system. Sleep is a healer. It's why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create rest? Why did Allah create sleep? So that our body is healed and so that we wake up, and we know that sleep is like minor death, right? So when we sleep and wake up, it's a way of refreshing our entire body, and we don't even know the amount of work and healing process that happens inside our bodies just because of sleep. So the first thing is sleep. The second one is emotional stress. So I'm just calling it as the 3 S's, which is sleep, stress, and self-discipline. The second one, which is stress, again, we're going to discuss, inshallah, the whole topic about anger and how anger affects our body, how anxiety affects our body. And also a section from this book, which speaks about the du'as that help us to overcome grief and anxiety. And the third one is self-discipline, which is the most important factor in every aspect of life, not just in terms of health, but just in general. If one does not have self-discipline, you will wreck everything in your life. It's not just your health, but also your productivity, your time, your life in general will, even if you don't have self-discipline in terms of deen. Like, for example, salah is one of the ways in which we discipline ourselves, where we control ourselves from doing what we are doing, and we discipline ourselves by going and making our salah on time. It's not about just praying anytime you wish, but praying on time. It's actually a way in which we discipline ourselves every single day. So before we move on to the topic of sleep and emotional stress, let's begin with self-discipline, because I think I've posted something on the screen here. Yeah. The hadith, which we all are aware of. So inshallah, we'll begin with that hadith. But in general, when we speak about self-discipline, it's something which, if you acquire, like if you master this quality of being a person with discipline in life, you will see a huge difference in your quality of life. The way, not just in our eating habits, but just in general. Like if you have discipline in terms of eating, sleeping, in terms of the way you work, in terms of your deen, in every aspect, you will see a change and an improvement if we don't have it yet. So if you look at your screen, I've posted a lot of pages today on the screen, which I kept it because some sisters wanted access to the book. So they preferred that I read directly so that they have the screenshots with them. So inshallah, we will just go through some pages from the book. So the first topic that we are discussing from the book today is on page 33. And it speaks about the prophetic guidance concerning food and drink. This includes observing a particular diet, refraining from excessive eating, and the general guidelines that should be observed regarding eating and drinking. And then there's a hadith which is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. The son of Adam never fills a vessel worse than his stomach. The son of Adam only needs a few bites that would sustain him. But if he insists, then 1/3 should be reserved for his food, another third for his drink, and the last third for his breathing. And this is something which clearly speaks about being moderate in whatever we eat. And this is the best way to lose weight. Like people who are concerned about obesity or about any other problems in general, we always put ourselves at risk because of overindulging in things, especially when it comes to eating. If it's and Islamically, it's not that we are supposed to have a meal when it's mealtime. It's not like, okay, it's breakfast, so I eat. It's snack time, so I have to have a snack. It's lunchtime, I have to have lunch. It's dinner time, I have to have dinner. It's not. It doesn't work that way. Your body, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has designed our body in a way in which automatically your body sends you hunger signals when you're hungry. So if somebody listens to, like, if you have a proper sleep cycle and if you have a proper eating cycle, like if you eat moderately and if you eat only when you're hungry, you're automatically you know arranging the body system within yourself to work according to the natural way. What I mean by this is, just recently I saw a video in which there was this famous nutritionist who was trying to bust this myth, which is that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And yes, it could be the most important meal of the day for some people who have already trained their bodies to be hungry during that time. But if you're not hungry during breakfast, and most people are not hungry, like if you go to sleep, especially if our sleep cycles are not regular and not intact, for somebody who's sleeping early and eats early dinner and goes to bed on time and then wakes up next morning hungry, then that is a normal thing for a person to have breakfast. And then you start off your day so that you don't have to overeat during lunch. You can even skip lunch for that matter and then just move on for a early dinner. So that's how some people work. It really depends from person to person. So this rule does not apply to everybody in general. But there is this myth that you have to have breakfast, and some people just don't want to have breakfast. They don't feel hungry during that time. Their body is not yet ready. Why? Because their body is still under this detoxification process that was taking place while you were sleeping, and it wasn't complete yet. So some people feel hungry a little later than their breakfast time. Then the other new fad that people have I don't know if everybody really does this, but when I was reading about this whole diet thing, it was about eating every 2 hours, small meal every 2 hours, and things like that. But all of this is something that people come up with, and then after some years the study dies down and they realize, oh, it was all wrong, and people have already messed up their lives doing it. So again, when we sometimes we have these natural instincts that tell us what is right and what is wrong. For example, if somebody has already eaten breakfast at 8 a.m. or at 9 a.m. and just because you're following a certain diet, you eat again after 2 hours, even if you're not hungry, and then again you have 2 hours, even if you're not hungry. So I don't know, somehow personally it didn't really click with me that you have to eat every 2 hours, because it's something that you're busying yourself with all the time. Whereas if you have a healthy, nutritious meal once in the morning, then it should suffice you for the next few hours until you're hungry again, which could mean that either you're not hungry during lunchtime, or that you have a small light lunch and then a small light dinner. So again, when we come back to this hadith, if we focus on the sentence which says that the son of Adam only needs a few morsels of food that would sustain him, which means that even if you just eat a little, that should be enough for you to survive and sustain. And again, if you're eating junk, if you're eating just a few bites of something which is not nutritious, then that will not be able to sustain you. But if it's something which is very nutritious, then again, if you just have it in small amounts, it should be enough for us to carry on for the day. Just a minute, let me just check something here. I'm not looking at the messages near the messengers. I have a lot of messages that are pending, so I'm not going back to the inbox right now. Inshallah, I'll check the messages towards the end of the session. Yeah, so again, controlling how much we eat. Now listen to this hadith. It's in Tabarani. Abu Juhayfa radiallahu anhu said that a man burped in the presence of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied by saying, keep your burps away from us, for the one who eats his fill the most in this world will be hungry for the longest time on the day of resurrection. After hearing that, Abu Juhayfa radiallahu anhu did not eat his fill until he departed from this world. If he ate breakfast, he would not eat dinner, and if he ate dinner, he would not eat breakfast. And he said, that I have not filled my stomach for 30 years. So again, if we see what was in the past was that people did not really spend every 2 hours or focusing their life around foods. In our times, what has happened is we wake up, we spend like 1-2 hours in the kitchen just preparing a lavish breakfast, and then we have that breakfast, and then we get busy preparing a nice big lunch, and then we start having that lunch, and then the rest of the day goes in preparing dinner, and then we have that dinner. And that's not the ideal way, especially for a Muslim who is trying to, if your focus is the hereafter and to increase your piety. It depends on what level you're in life. So inshallah, I'm assuming that everybody here is like focused on their deen, and you have more things to do in life other than just eat, right? So if our whole lives just revolves around cooking and eating and cooking and eating, then we're not really making the best use of our time. And maybe we're even affecting our health because of this non-stop, when you're putting food in your body's working, right, to digest that food. So sometimes our body needs rest. You can't just keep your body busy, processing food and digesting and and then once this is digested, the next thing comes in, that is digested, the next thing comes in. And especially if it's not healthy, if it's sweet stuff, if it's just plain blank carbohydrates and stuff like that. And again, I just actually forgot to put the whole point of fasting, so I'm just going to add it in my notes right now. It just struck me right now, even before I was preparing. So again, when we speak about self-discipline, even fasting comes under that. And subhanAllah, for us Muslims, Ramadan is the best training month for self-discipline. Why? Because we have the discipline of, obviously, is the salah 5 times a day. Not just that, but the extra prayers that we do during the night times. And then again, just disciplining yourself to wake up, have the suhoor, and that to a light suhoor, not very heavy. And then again, light iftar, and then trying to control yourself, because once you gain control over your desires, and especially the desire of hunger, if someone has control over hunger, then automatically they will have control over many other things in life. And that's the whole purpose of fasting too in the month of Ramadan. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. That, oh, you who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you as it was prescribed on those before you, so that you may attain taqwa. And what is this taqwa? It's being conscious of Allah, right? And that is why when I'm going to read now a few things from my notes towards the end of this article, where this person has written about how eating less keeps you more focused with your, your brain is more focused on what it's doing, and also it keeps you more conscious of Allah. It keeps you closer to your deen, because when you're eating too much, you become lazy, you become lethargic, and you become heedless. Eating excessively also leads to heedlessness, meaning you're in a state of ghafla, because your mind you're not giving your brain the ability to just relax and contemplate and focus. But let me just go on with the notes now. And again, then the next point that I want to stress on is sometimes what happens is we overfill our plates when we eat, and then because we don't want to waste it, we end up stuffing it into ourselves. So now imagine it's like treating our stomachs as a trash can, because now, for example, you've taken a portion of certain types of meals, and then you have this huge, like 3 loaves of bread, instead of just taking 1 loaf, not loaf, slice. So a roti or whatever you want to call it. So say, for example, if you're just supposed to eat 2 small chapatis, you end up taking 4 in your plate, right? And now you eat 2 and you're done, you're full. Your body will automatically signal you when you're full. And the other the other discipline of eating is also eating slowly and chewing your food properly. Because when you eat fast, when you're hungry, we tend to stuff up ourselves. And when we stuff ourselves, we end up overeating, because you're not giving your body time to realize that the food has already come in. And now, it takes time for your body to know that the food is in, and now you're settled and it's done. So when we eat too fast, we're like stuffing ourselves up, and then we realize we've overeaten, and then again we regret. So eating slowly, chewing the food correctly, and then once you're done with 2, what happens is when you have extra on your plate and then you feel bad, you don't want to waste it, you end up stuffing it in yourself. So basically, something which you're supposed to either go in the garbage can or stay on the buffet table ends up in your stomach with extra work for your body to do. And then we wonder why we put on weight. Why are we, going through this whole crisis of obesity and being overweight? It's because we're stuffing ourselves more with our food. The next thing, then again, the hadith which I had mentioned in the previous session, which is from Al-Bukhari, a believer eats in one intestine, whereas a disbeliever or a hypocrite eats in 7 intestines. That means a believer is satisfied with little food, whereas an unbeliever eats too much to satisfy himself. Then the next hadith, okay, this one we've already finished. Eating too much, this is not a hadith, this is just a statement. Eating too much also makes the heart hard and heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet, and that is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions used to go hungry quite frequently, even in the presence of abundant food. And this is an excellent quality where there is so much food available on the table, and yet you choose not to approach it. You choose not to stuff yourself with every single item that is there in front of you. This is something which is really admirable, not just from the religious perspective, but also for, people who are dieting. And they're really like, you imagine you go for a gathering and there are sisters there, and like say there are 10 sisters and there's lots of food and everybody's just going and picking up and eating and enjoying, and wow, this is tasty and this is yummy. And just imagine this, but there are there's this one sister who's like, no, you know what, I can't have this sweet. Or it's not about not having, but just, taking a little bit of it and then controlling yourself from having the whole piece for yourself. So just once we learn this, automatically there's no way you will affect your body negatively if you have this control. And that's why I wanted to spend more time on this topic of self-discipline, because inshallah, regarding the next 2 points, even if we don't get to cover it up in this session, we can keep it for the next session so that we can do it more in detail, inshallah. Let me see what's on the next page. Okay. Then the next point is about eating halal. We know about that. Umar radiallahu anhu said that, by Allah, if I wanted, I could wear the finest of clothes among you and eat the best of foods and have the most luxurious life. But I heard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will condemn people for some of their actions, and said that you received your good things in the life of this world. This part is the verse in Surah Ahqaf, verse 20, that you received your good things in the life of this world and you took your pleasure therein. Now this day you shall be recompensed with a torment of humiliation, because you were arrogant in the land without a right, and because you used to rebel against Allah's commands. So again, this verse is also has another context to it, but just in general, that if we are actually indulging in every single pleasure in this dunya, then what are we leaving for the hereafter, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also describes about eating in the hereafter, about the fruits of paradise, and about how when whatever you wish for, you will have it. So the other thing is, when you are hungry, like I'm just actually mentioning the points as they're coming to my head. Some of the things are not written here, so I'm just skipping parts of the book and saying something that's coming to my mind. So again, some of the times when you're hungry and you don't have an option of eating something nutritious, then you'd rather not eat than to put something bad in your body. For example, you're outside and you're hungry, and the best thing is that you carry healthy stuff with you, like for example nuts, or anything that you're aware of is healthy and not something which is processed or something which is bought from the store. Just in general, a banana or a fruit or just nuts, something which is like a real natural food. And those who missed the previous session, go back to listen to what we discussed about how do we identify what food is real food and how long does real food last, and how do we choose between the real foods and the processed foods or the store-bought stuff which is labeled as food. So coming back to this, when you are outside and you're hungry, if for example you're passing by a restaurant or somewhere, and now you have two options. One is either you eat the apple or the banana which you have in your car with you, or your nuts or whatever, or you get off and buy a packet of fast food. Now either you eat the healthy stuff that you have in your bag, and if you don't have anything, then you rather starve yourself than to put something which is toxic into your body. Why am I saying this? Just as a side note, we always hear this thing of don't eat outside food, and it's not good to keep eating always. I mean, it's not about not eating completely, but once in a while it's fine. But all the time, every single day, eating food from the restaurants and not cooking your own food or not eating healthy, nutritious food, the real problem is not the nutrition factor. Because, for example, you're eating from a good restaurant where they're giving you the same chicken which you buy from your grocery store, or you're having the same vegetables or the fruits or whatever. That is provided the restaurant is giving you real, nutritious, fresh food. Okay, but it's not the food that's the problem. What's the problem when we non-stop eat at fast food joints or in restaurants in general? The problem lies in the oil in which they cook their food. And again, one of the videos that I watched before preparing for this was the whole concept of reheating oils and using used oils. Like for example, when you go to McDonald's or anywhere, just in general, a fast food place, okay, where you go to a restaurant or a fast food joint like this, just go and see how they're cooking their French fries, because French fries is something which is the most common fast food available, right? So just for example, we'll talk about French fries. So now they've cooked a pot of a whole bowl or whatever, the huge pans that they have, and they put it in your plate or your carton, what they give you in, and they give it to you. And now they're putting the next batch in that same oil and they're giving to the next customer. And this is going on throughout the day. And who knows whether next day did they change their oil, or are they cooking your food in that same oil? And this could apply not just to French fries, it could apply to oil in general in any restaurant. Like say, for example, you ordered butter chicken or you ordered something. If you're cooking the chicken at home, you're going to use ghee or butter, which is a better option than just using refined oil. And even if you're using the refined oil, say once, it's still better than using it the second or the third or the fourth time. And how do you know that in the restaurant in which you're eating, the oil that they cooked your food in is the oil which is 2 days old, in which they've already cooked multiple different foods before making your food in it? So that's where the problem lies. And that's where and this doesn't happen like just like if you eat today, tomorrow you're going to fall sick. It's not that way. It doesn't work that way, because when we reheat oils, it releases free radicals that causes more inflammation. And inflammation is the root cause of all health problems. Okay, I hope everybody is on the same page as me. Okay, if you have any questions, you can just post it on the screen. So that's where the problem lies. Okay, so again, if there's one change that right now you want to make after this lecture, it's about your oil that you're using. The best option is to use pure ghee. I'm talking about making general foods, like if you're making chicken or you're making vegetables or you're making whatever your basic daily home food, the best option would be to use ghee. And if you don't have that, then again, even just butter in general, or now there's a whole topic of oils. I actually haven't even prepared the topic because it wasn't there in this book, and neither was it in my notes, but then it just came to my mind. If you just Google or YouTube the best or the most healthy oils that you can use, the topmost is the avocado oil, which is considered expensive, and of course you can't use it on a daily basis to deep fry and stuff like that. But if just for your knowledge sake, the best oil that you can use is avocado oil, and this is after ghee and butter. And again, the whole concept of butter being unhealthy and ghee being unhealthy, again, this is a false thing. Especially in our Asian culture, in our Indo-Pakistani culture, ghee has been used for years and years and thousands of years. And somebody's microphone that is on. So I think it's Sister Khadija and Sister Yasmin. If you can just switch off all the microphones, inshallah. Right, so coming back to, I don't think we're going to reach the topic of sleep and stress today. So I'm just covering up these points so we can keep the other two topics. I want to do this in detail since it's come out right now. So the whole issue of having fear against butter and having fear against ghee. Why did this happen? And again, now if you see in the recent study, it shows that ghee has come back. It's called, what do they call it? The golden something. Even the turmeric thing has come back. But again, just the whole concept of ghee being bad, it was considered extremely bad initially. But if you just, I'm just going to mention a few names so that you know exactly from where you get access to this. There are a few nutritionists that you will benefit from a lot. One of them is Rujita Devekar. I'm going to write the names on the screen here. And the other one is Luke Coutinho. So if you YouTube and just watch their explanation, because I don't have time right now to give you the whole explanation about ghee. If we want it, we can have it as a separate session. But again, I'm not an expert in that. So I don't want to get into the details of it. But if you want to convince yourself about ghee and butter being good for you, then you can just YouTube it about benefits of ghee, benefits of butter, and you can find a few videos on that. And of course, watch the authentic ones, meaning the ones which are, you can trust them when they're speaking. But just in general, to give you an idea as to why did these get a bad name? Why did butter and ghee become bad? Or in general, the egg yolks, they say it has more cholesterol and stuff like that. Again, we mentioned about eggs in the previous session about how do we cook them. That's what matters. But when it comes to things like milk, butter, ghee, and all of these, the problem came because of the procession that took place in these food products. Ghee, if it is pure and homemade, it's not bad. In fact, it's good because that's called good fat. And our body requires good fats in general for everything. You need good fats to replenish your cells, for your brain. You need all of these good fats. Like the fats we get from seeds or nuts is good fats. The fats that we get from butter is good fat. The fat that you get from, we have the fruits like avocados and stuff like that. So all of these fats are good fats. But why did they become bad? It's because what you actually get in the store is no more the original food which people used to have in the past. Like we always learned of bread, butter being the basic food, right? But how did bread and butter become bad? Because the bread, again, is not the same bread. And inshallah, I said in the last session that we are going to have a session especially on grains and how nutritious and important grains are and how this whole free gluten diet and stuff like that came about. And the second thing is about butter. How does butter come? If you go back to the root of it, when we boil milk, and I'm talking about real fresh milk from the cow or from the buffalo or from the animal, okay? Not the milk which you get at the store, not the cartoned milk, not the slim milk, not the 1% reduced and 2% reduced. All of these things are just to fool the public. In reality, this whole thing of low fat milk and all of this, in general, that fat of the milk, if it's real milk, is good for your body. So if you boil the milk, you have the cream that comes up, right? And then you churn that cream, and that is what turns into butter. So that butter is the most nutritious part of the milk. So if somebody is having raw butter, which is made from fresh cows, that butter is, and I'm sure in India and Pakistan, people still make their own butter and ghee at home from fresh milk. So that is the butter that is healthy for you. Now, we don't know how all of the store-bought butters are, but just if you're living in the West or if you have access to it, there is this butter called Kerrygold butter, which is an Irish butter, which comes from grass-fed cows. So again, that is the best option from all of the processed butters that are available out there. So again, same way the ghee, right? If it's homemade ghee, if it's pure ghee, it is good for you. And it not just makes the food taste good, but in general, just one scoop of ghee in your everyday food is going to have a huge, huge, huge impact on your health. You will see automatic improvement. In fact, there are concussions that are made with ghee, like you put, ghee in those sesame laddus with jaggery and stuff like that. So there's a reason why our grandmothers used ghee. There's a reason why our grandmothers used butter on a daily basis. Bread, butter was a staple diet in every home. Like if there was nothing, people just ate bread and butter. And that is nutritious enough because you have whole grains, which is if you are using fresh flour, that is, and then you have this whole nutritious butter on top of it, which has everything, the vitamins A, D, E, K. If you have fresh raw butter, again, we spoke about vitamin D deficiency in the previous session. This is one of your sources. So that's about reheating oil. So we said ghee and butter top the list when it comes to cooking your food in it. The next one would be avocado oil and again olive oil, but again you have to check the packet. It has to be cold pressed. It's not the refined version that we're talking about. Again, what was the other thing that came to my mind? Cold pressed coconut oil. That's also the other healthy option. Again, coconut oil, cold pressed coconut oil, again has its own benefits, many, many, many benefits. So whatever I'm saying, if you just make notes and then you just go yourself and Google on each of these topics, inshallah, you will find a lot of information. I'm just like kind of giving you direction. And again, when it comes to the Q&A session, these sessions are not about how do I cure piles or how do I cure my heart disease or how do I cure my cancer. This is not about that. These sessions are just a guideline for you, just to give you an idea about how can something go wrong in my body and how can I prevent it, or if I'm already sick, how can I improve my health by making these few lifestyle changes, which is your diet, your sleep, and your stress levels. And we do the second and the third, inshallah, a little bit later. And just in my notes here, I just saw something. So I'm just going to mention it before I lose it. Yeah, there is, so the article that I was reading, in that it mentioned about this concoction that you can make at home and prepare it and keep and have it on a daily basis. And what is it? Pure ghee, turmeric, and black pepper. And again, fresh turmeric, not the fake ones. So pure ghee, turmeric, and black pepper. If you just have if you make a jar with this preparation and you just have 1 teaspoon every morning, the speaker, whoever the nutritionist is, said that this helps in angiogenesis. What is angiogenesis? It means new blood vessel formations, and that's what our body needs all the time. Sometimes when people have a coronary artery disease or a blockage in their, one of their heart vessels, how is it that the person doesn't die immediately? Because sometimes you might have a 90% blockade and still survive. You still don't get a heart attack. You still don't die on the spot. Why? Because your body always has this mechanism of making new blood vessels. So if one is blocked, there could be a new one that is formed through which the blood is passing by. So if you have certain types of food that build in this this angiogenesis, automatically you're helping your body rebuild new blood vessels so that you don't suffer from the consequences of lack of good flow in your blood. Okay, if everybody is with me, please write in the chat session that you are with me. I don't want it to be like I'm just talking and nobody's responding. Okay, if you want me to write anything on the screen in the chat session, I can write. Let me just write this thing that I just mentioned. So I said pure ghee, turmeric, and black pepper. The word, and I'm just typing the words on the screen, so that you can go back and read about it. So in that way, you can automatically know where you need to do your research. Okay, so it's Genesis. That's the word. So if you read about that, there are many other foods that help you in that. And again, when we're speaking about trying our best not to go on pills, not to go on medicines, and try to take care of your health in your home itself. So basically, it's like making your kitchen into your pharmacy. So you don't have to go outside and keep buying pills and medications unless you're already reached there. Now you have to live on it. It's a different story. So it's not about leaving everything. Of course, if you are suffering from blood pressure, diabetes, and stuff like that, you have to take your medicines, and go to the doctors and take their opinions of that. This is just for those people who haven't still reached that stage, and you want to prevent yourself from going there. So the best way to prevent yourself from falling sick or from getting into major diseases and problems is by taking care of your health, by feeding yourself nutritious food, and by knowing what types of food have what qualities or what nutrients. Okay. So this was about oils. Now going back up to the notes. Again, in the same session regarding this angiogenesis and stuff like that, I also heard the doctor speak about garlic being a food that helps in to prevent, like, to keep your blood pressure low. So again, for hypertension and stuff like that, garlic is something that helps. Also, ginger has its own benefits. And if you go to see, and this is something I really want to stress on, our Indian or our Desi way, or even the Mediterranean way, or whichever cuisine you follow, the way we prepare our food, if you follow the basic traditions, and that's why I mentioned that book, Traditional Cooking. If you follow our basic, like for example, I'll just speak from where I come. Okay, so in our Indian culture or in our Pakistani culture, we have this way of how do we prepare our food. First, we put the oil or the ghee or the butter or whatever it is, and then what do? We put the spices or the herbs. I need to leave for Salah. Okay, so you can go and come back if you wish. So the way we prepare our food, if we don't follow the traditional way of cooking, then again, we're creating a havoc in our health. How? Let's compare the two ways of cooking. One is the way we cook. So we put our ghee, we put the, all our small things like the cardamom, the ginger, the garlic, even the things like, the lavang and all these small things that we put in. And then we wait for the cumin seeds, the coriander seeds, all of this. Each of these items, they have their own nutrition. Then we add turmeric, we add all these different powders in our dishes, and then we put in the main food, right? So we're already benefiting from the chicken or the vegetables that you're going to put in, and you're also benefiting from these things. But not just that, even the fact that you're cutting your onions and putting it in, and then you're putting your own tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, not using the canned tomatoes or the canned puree just to quickly make a meal, or using the store-bought onions, the store-bought, what do you call it, the barista that we use. So all of these things, when you're using ready-made store-bought stuff, just remember anything that's in the store in a can that is lying on that shelf for months, either it's devoid of nutrition or it has something toxic in it. It's one of the two. If it doesn't have toxic stuff, if it doesn't, I'm sure it has preservatives, but even if it doesn't have preservatives, and even if it's all organic, it's still not as nutritious as putting fresh tomatoes in your food. And whatever you see that grows on a tree and you're putting it in your food, that is real food, right? So just this curry itself is so nutritious. So let alone the extra stuff that you're going to add in, right? Just the basic sauce that you prepared now is nutritious because you put all your herbs in, you put your tomatoes, you put your onions, you put all these extra small spices, which all have their own nutrition, right? Now compare this to a westernized fast food version. You just put like cheese, which is store bought, and then you put some milk and you put some butter, and then you mix it, you add some black pepper, and you put your pasta inside, right? So compare the two dishes. What is more fattening and what is more non-nutritious and what is more nutritious? So this is something which is like, that's why cooking, if you really master the art of cooking in a healthy way, then you're not just investing in your own body, but you're saving the lives of the people that live with you by giving them nutritious, healthy food every single day, instead of just picking up something from the store, or eating every single other day at the restaurant, or just buying shortcut stuffs and what is that, quick cooking or short cooking or whatever that's called. So that's not okay. Once in a while you're busy, or you don't have anything in the house and you need to feed people, then it's a different thing. If it happens once in a while, that's okay, because see, your body does have a healing mechanism, right? So if you do put something toxic in your body, you're not going to fall sick immediately. It will you might even heal. You might put some wrong stuff in and you might heal. But if you do this, like imagine every other day, or people who are living in hostels, sometimes the men who live outside, or sometimes even the women who live who are studying or living abroad, and they're not eating healthy, they're just eating every single day at the restaurant. After a period of years, it's going to take years and years and years for your body to completely shut down everything, because you did not give it nutrition to grow or to survive in a nutritious way. Okay, so the next point, okay, so we finished this, eating in moderation. We are a people who do not eat until we're hungry, and if we eat, we do not eat to our fill. I'm not sure the source of that, so I'm not going to mention it in detail. Okay, now let me see what is left on the screen here. Okay, if you just look at your screen, this is again a different topic, so we will do this inshallah in the next session. The pages that I'm swiping on the screen, this is what we will be doing in the next session. For now, I think it's already 9:45, I think 9:41. So we will end this and I'll take the questions so that we can stick to this specific topic, because I don't want to get too many topics together, or else we're going to have questions coming from different topics and then I don't get to answer them. And I think I haven't answered the previous questions. I do have them, so inshallah I'll get back to them when I get a chance, or maybe I'll just post in the Q&A form on the messenger group, inshallah. So for now, you can post your questions in the chat session. And let me go back to, and I'll just go through the notes just to see if I've missed out anything in today's topic. Oh yes, and I forgot to mention that in the whole topic of self-discipline, the main thing that I forgot was, yes, we spoke about fasting, right? We spoke about eating in moderation. That is the first thing. Controlling yourself from cravings, that is, just falling in for every sweet that comes your way. It's one thing to taste, and it's one thing to enjoy, but it's one thing to overindulge and stuff yourself up with something which your body doesn't really need. The other point I forgot to mention is that when we're eating, not talking while eating, because what happens is when you're speaking too much while eating, you don't know how much you've eaten, and you're just like talking and going on, stuffing, especially in parties, and you have people sitting around you and you are just going on eating and chatting, or even watching TV sometimes. That's again a bad habit, because you're overeating, you're overindulging, something which your body doesn't need. That is one discipline. The second form of discipline we spoke about was giving your body rest, and that is through fasting. There is this whole new craze that has started in this whole dietitian world or the nutrition world, which is intermittent fasting. Now they call it intermittent fasting. For them, what it means is you wake up like at the way they do it is like after dinner, like say you had dinner at 7 p.m. So your intermittent fasting begins at 7 p.m. and then you break it the next morning, or they keep like a 6 hours fasting and stuff like that. Well, we as Muslims, Alhamdulillah, it's our Sunnah. It's the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he fasts Mondays and Thursdays. And in fact, there are so many studies. Again, you can just go and Google it up because I don't have the exact evidence and the exact whatever the quotations here. But I've even read articles where fasting twice, and specifically it's mentioned fasting twice a week is useful for your body. It's useful against cancer. It's useful against so many other things. So if you just follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when it comes to eating in general, and that is why this whole topic is named as healing with the medicine of the Prophet ﷺ. So if you just follow in your daily life, automatically you're doing a huge benefit for yourself, not just in terms of getting the reward of following the Sunnah, but just in general, like dates, the food that the Prophet ﷺ ate, honey, dates, milk, what else, black seeds and stuff like that. So if we follow the Sunnah wholeheartedly with love for the Prophet ﷺ, we are going to have benefits in this dunya as well as in the hereafter. So the second point was discipline, and fasting, intermittent fasting. And inshallah, if I get time, we will touch upon that because it does fall under this topic. So we can do that inshallah in detail. And the third thing that I did not want to miss out was on what is the third self-discipline that someone has asked a question: is organic sunflower oil bad? It depends on whether it's refined or not. So there is this video called, I don't remember the name, I saw it long time back. It's about the healthiest oils or something like that. And for those of you who are living in, say, US or Canada or anywhere in the West, I don't know if there is anyone here. Is there anyone here from US or from Canada? If there is anyone, or if somebody who's hearing the recording, there is this Costco haul. Costco is a store here. So there's this a person who's a health nutritionist or something, and he goes to the store and he exactly picks up all oils there which are available in that store, and then he shows you which one is healthy and which one you should avoid. So he kind of divides them into refined oils and non-refined oils, and then he picks up the ones that like are available today in the store. So like if you go today to Costco or to any other store from where you pick up your oil, you know which one to pick up. Like there are many cold pressed versions of oils available. Like he showed one entire carton of cold pressed coconut oil, and it's written on the carton, cold pressed, organic. So you have to look for these names. We have to actually study the way we pick our foods. So once you know exactly what are you supposed to look for on the labels, automatically you will, and this takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time for you to just understand how to pick up healthy foods from the store. Like what labels should you be reading? What should you be avoiding? How do you pick up the right kind of oil and stuff like that? Okay, so before I forget that, yes, flax seeds again is another nutritious food. So jazakallah khair. It's FLAX, I believe, flax seeds. So in case somebody is misunderstanding the spelling there. And the other thing I was going to say, the third thing. What is the third thing that we missed out on regarding self-discipline? If anybody can just guess it in the chat session. So we're speaking about discipline, we spoke about controlling, we spoke about not overindulging, we spoke about fasting, which is a form of discipline again in eating. So what else? Let me see who gets timing. Okay. Yeah, being, again, timing, we can have a whole discussion on that. But it's not that, this is, I don't know whether this really should be followed or no. But just the thing that don't eat when you're not hungry. Just because it's lunchtime, and okay, yes, if it is lunchtime and if it's it's a good habit to sit with the family and eat. But then if you're not hungry, then just sit and eat a little bit, like just the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that a few morsels should be enough to keep your back straight. So if it is lunchtime and the whole family has to sit together and eat, then yes, go sit, join them, but don't eat like you have to have the whole plate, or you have to have like your regular. If you're not hungry, just eat a little bit and that should suffice. And when you are hungry, then eat well, so that you know that, because everybody's body is different. Some people are just used to one meal for the entire day. Like they may wake up in the morning, they don't have breakfast, they directly have their lunch at say 11, 12, early lunch or brunch or whatever you call it. So they might eat at 12, and then they don't need to eat till 6 in the evening. So they might just have something short, quick for at before bedtime, and they just go to sleep. For some people, they need 3 full proper meals, like a full eggs and bread for breakfast, a full-fledged dal rice kind of lunch, and then a full-fledged dinner. So yes, it works differently, and everybody's metabolism is different. So it really, you cannot have one, this whole dietitian concept of have a meal every 2 hours, you have to eat this way, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not the same for everybody. It's different. Each one's body is different, each one's metabolism is different, each one's hunger signals are different, each one's sleep habits are different. And that is why I actually switched off my recorder here. Let me just, yeah. Wait, I need to start a new one. Just a minute. Okay, so I was saying that each one's situation is different, right? Your body is different, your sleep cycle is different, your metabolism within your body is different. So for some people, they eat a lot, they never put on. For the others, they even if they eat a little bit, they automatically put on. So we cannot paint everybody with the same brush and say, all of you have dinner at this time, all of you have lunch at this time, everybody has to have this for breakfast, everybody has to have this for lunch. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to study your own body. You have to see what works for you best. It's like a trial and error process. And once you realize what you need, then you need to stick to your routine. So a routine that may apply for one person will not be the same as a routine that applies for another person. And that is why if you're a dietitian or a nutritionist, you don't give the same advice to all of your patients or to all of your clients that come to you. You don't give the same advice to everybody, because why do you think people pay so much money to these nutritionists? If you see, like, especially the film stars or the Hollywood and the Bollywood actors and stuff like that, they actually spend a lot of money just to pay their dietitian. Why? Because they explain to them, this is the time I sleep, this is the time I wake up, this is my working schedule, this is how my life is, this is what these are the foods I like, I'm a non-vegetarian, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat fish, I don't eat eggs, I'm allergic to this, and this is where the nutritionist. So this is where she gives you a specific diet for your body, for your situation, for your way of living, basically for your lifestyle, the way your life, because everything affects your job, the way you, like if there's a man who has a rigorous job in the morning outside where he has to, it's physically taxing or mentally, so then he has to have breakfast and go. Whereas somebody else who's a mom at home who doesn't, have a lot of, if she knows that she doesn't have immediate physically taxing work in the next few hours, she may not need that much breakfast or that much of the same amount of food as somebody else. So again, it's really depending on your own needs. And secondly, okay, wait, before we forget, let's go back. What was the third thing that I asked? Let me look at the questions. What do we do with kids? They don't, yeah, inshallah, we will discuss that right now since I have time. But what is the third thing that we missed out on regarding self-discipline? So we spoke about the other two things. What was the third thing? It was exercise. Now, in the olden days, the whole concept of exercise, like going to the gym and, killing yourself at the gym, didn't, because people were naturally active, right? They were naturally having their exercise being done just with their daily chores. Like, for example, people didn't have washing machines to wash their clothes, so people washed clothes with their own hands. Oh, 1 second, my screen is, yeah. So people didn't have cars, they used to walk. Like, just think about 1400 years ago, how did people, like, just in our Prophet's time, for example, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how did they travel? They had to walk for miles. We know the narrations from history about how Fatima radiallahu anha, she used to walk with carrying water on her shoulders. It would leave marks. They would bake their own bread. They would actually work hard. They would walk for miles and miles just to get somewhere, or even if they had to meet someone, or even if they just had to get something from the market or whatever. So they used to walk, they used to exercise naturally. In our times, we've got everything on our fingertips. Even our work now is behind the computers, right? So it's all sedentary. It's all, the whole lifestyle has changed to becoming nothing. So we cannot deny the fact that we don't need to go to the gyms. For some people, yes, you may have to go to the gym every day in order to change your way of living. Like, I mean, if you're suffering from heart disease or cholesterol problems or obesity, then you have to hit the gym because that's what you put yourself into, or that's what happened because of your lifestyle, right? But for some people, you might not need to go to the gym. You can just do it at home. Like, that's why, again, it's different for different people. If somebody is really struggling with health problems, they may have to walk every single day in their daily routine, like an evening walk, a morning walk, or a jog, or running on the treadmill and things like that. But for somebody else, it may not apply because they may not need that much of exercise. I think my baby just woke up. What was I saying? Yeah, so everybody's needs can be different. So exercise again. So the best thing, if you don't have, and again, the whole thing of gymming and all, it's very expensive for some people. Like, some people just cannot afford to spend so much to go to gyms and do it. Again, some people don't have time. Some people don't have the ability, because since we're hijabis, we don't want to expose ourselves. No matter what you wear, you're still going to expose some part of your body while gymming, right? And some people are shy of going, even if it's amongst women. So the best option for you would be to just in your home. There are thousands of videos available online which just help you with a 7-minute workout, a 10-minute workout, a 20-minute workout. It's just about moving your body. It's just about not being sedentary, because our lifestyles have changed. We've got machines that do all our work. We have to do literally nothing. We don't even need to walk now because we have cars. We do, and the other ways of exercising would be that you avoid always using the car. Sometimes you can walk up, sometimes you can park far away, so that in your daily life you can just walk, just even in your home. Like, if you have to clean up, even cleaning up could be an exercise, right? Because, but the thing is, now we have maids, right? So we don't even do that. So basically everything is reduced to nothing. And that's why the whole thing of exercise and all of this became a huge thing, because of the way we're living. Whereas in the past, they didn't have gyms. They didn't even know, I think, what was exercise, right? So it's because their everyday life was an exercise. Let me just go back to the screen. Okay, let's go one by one. So the first question was about kids. What do we do when they don't eat? Okay, now again, this is a very, very stressful topic for moms, and it's extremely, extremely sensitive too for some moms. So the best way would be, let's go from the beginning. When the child is born, of course, we know about the breast milk and the benefits of breast milk and all of that. Then when the child turns around 6, 7, or 8 months, they start around with the again, depending on your situation, depending on your circumstance, it depends all on the kid and on the mother. But if we give the children a habit right from the beginning to eat healthy, it sticks with them for the rest of their life. So again, introducing them to different flavors. And the first thing is, the mom herself needs to know what is nutritious for the kid. Okay, and I know you might mean kids who are like 5, 6 years old, or even older or younger. So I'm coming to that, but I'm just starting off in detail from the beginning. So initially, beginning off the right way, and the mother herself needs to study what is nutritious and what is not nutritious, what is healthy, what is not healthy. Like, for example, the baby food which we get, like, the cereal that we get from the store, you can make your own cereal in the most easiest way, and put in the best the good quality milk, the good quality grains, and make your own and give it to your kid. Like, even the store-bought cereals that you see in the packages, like the what is it, the Kellogg's and stuff like that, they're sweetened with artificial flavors, artificial colors, the rainbow one. So all of these things, they can be very detrimental to our health, not now, but down the line, if you go on with this type of food. If you cut it short and change it, maybe your body can heal. But if you don't make any changes whatsoever, then you're killing it's like slow poisoning your own body and slow poisoning your kids. And as we mentioned in the previous session, our kids are an amana. So you rather not have them eat than have them eat that junk. I'm talking about daily basis. If it's once in a while, if they're starving, if they're acting crazy and you have nothing but that, then it's okay to give. But to make it a rule that every single morning you're going to have this store-bought cereal with milk, then you have to again go back and check, do I have a better option than giving them that? Okay. Now the kids who don't eat, the only thing I can say is make dua to Allah, because it's not in our control sometimes. Some of the kids are really very, very picky eaters. They're just not interested in food. Each one's personality is different. They don't focus on food. They're choosy about what they pick up, what they don't pick up. So it's not really, sometimes it's not in the mother's hand. She can try her best, and yet the child just doesn't want it. So the best thing again you can do is just make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just keep trying, try introducing, try talking. If your kid is old enough, then of course explain to them the benefits of health. And the thing is, kids are such that when they start understanding and when they start, thinking, when they just reach that age of 5, 6, 7, they know now, they know things, they understand things. So when we talk to them, whatever you teach a young child, they soak it and they literally believe you when you say that. Whereas if you tell a 15, 20-year-old, the person might just reject it out of arrogance or just think that, okay, I know better. But when you teach a young child, the child picks up everything. My child never ate outside food. When he started going to school, attempted to eat junk foods. Yeah, that's a problem, because when when we go out, the kids get candies from people. So you could actually make a rule. If you're really serious about this, and you can make I have gone to my kids' teachers and told them that please do not give them candy all the time, because sometimes they have this thing that, okay, if you do this, you'll get this candy. If you complete this, you'll get this lollipop. So what I did was I couldn't go and tell each and every teacher, because the whole class is getting it. So you don't want your child to feel like the left out one, and you don't want your child to feel bad either. So the best option is to teach your kid, don't have it. So what I did was I actually told my kids I showed them a video about cavities, and told them that this is what's going to happen to your teeth if you non-stop eat candies and chocolates or whatever, or junk food. And again, the whole concept of junk food affecting the teeth is also a whole different topic. In fact, the book that I posted called Physical Degeneration, that is a book which speaks about how your diet is reflected in your teeth, and how some of the foods reverse cavities, and how some of the foods promote cavities. So that whoever's more interested into that topic can go to the book called Physical Degeneration. I think that's my Western price. I think I've posted it in the messenger chat too, so you can scroll up the screen there and check. So coming back to the topic. So this is what I did. I told my kids that if you eat, like they get these lollipops or something from school sometimes, and they get it from their Quran class, and the teachers reward them with that. So if you're a teacher, then try your best to remove this concept of giving chocolates and candies to kids from your school or from wherever you're teaching. Give them something else. Give them fruits, or give them something. You get those $1 toys. I mean, whatever currency you follow, but you get those small plastic things like the toys, or something that makes them happy, like stickers. Even that is enough to reward them. You don't have to give them a lollipop. I'm surprised that when you go to the doctor's health checkup and they have candies and chocolates there, and when you're leaving, they're like, oh, now you can have a lollipop after the shots. And I'm like, it's so ironic, right? Because you're teaching your kid this is not healthy, and then the doctor himself or herself is giving your kid this candy. So I don't know where the change can begin here. If you see, then you can just advise the place not to keep the junk stuff, especially when you're teaching your kid at home that this is not healthy, and then he goes to the doctor, and the one who's supposed to cure you gives you a candy, right? So what my kids do is they collect their candies in a candy box, and they just play with it. They don't eat it. So if it's Smarties, or there are these lollipops that they get, they just have them in their wrappers and they don't open it. And it's just like, we'll pile it up when and I still don't know what they do with it, but it's just lying in our home. And then I eventually have to just throw it, because I don't have any other option. I can't keep that, right? So the best is to teach your kids that this is, and it's going to be tough. Some kids might, I don't know, sometimes the kid might still secretly eat it outside. But if you really make them serious about it, and if you know that they're getting this from school, then you just tell them that I want you to bring it home and I want to see it. Because they might tell you they threw it away, but in reality, they may have eaten it. So that's one solution. And what else? What was the other question? What about pregnant women? How should she balance the diet? Is there some other? Again, the same thing. Whatever is healthy for a non-pregnant woman is healthy for a pregnant woman. unless you need a little bit extra for you, because now you have to feed your baby too. But just remember, even in pregnancy, you don't have to overeat, because what you're eating, your baby is anyways going to get that through the, the umbilical cord, through the placenta. But what you eat is going to affect your baby's nutrition too. So if you're eating junk, empty calories, and your baby is not really going to benefit from it. Whereas if you're eating extremely nutritious food, then yes, your baby will benefit from it. So it's not about overeating, but it's just about eating nutrients, like, nutrient dense foods. And just remember that in the whole issue, sometimes of fasting also, just know that if the mother is not eating, the baby still gets his or her nutrition. So even if you are fasting for a few hours, it doesn't mean your baby is going to die if you don't eat for a day, because that baby will somehow get its nutrition from your blood. Your body has stored fats and stored nutrition, so the baby is going to get it anyways. But it's just about you seeing to this whole, the whole idea of eating healthy is not, it's not a matter of 1 day or 2 days. It's the whole attitude towards food. It's not that you'll never ever eat junk food. We are all weak, and you might just indulge in a lovely piece of cheesecake or a nice sweet dish somebody has prepared. And of course, sweet dishes are not always junk, because some of the sweet dishes that we have in our cultures are very, very healthy. Like, what are the names? Like, for example, talbina it's like a sweet, but it's sweet from the Sunnah, that barley, honey, and dates or something like that. So some of the sweets that we have in our culture, like rice puddings and stuff, they may not always be junk unless they're overloaded with sugar. So it's not the sugar which is a problem. It's the overindulgence in the sweets that's the problem. So that's why it comes back to self-discipline. It's about holding yourself back from overeating. And not everybody who eats cake and sweets falls sick. Not everybody who is eating junk once in a while falls sick. It's the ones who are dependent on that for their nutrition. That's when it affects the body. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so we've actually crossed our 1 hour limit. So if you want, we can end this session if you don't have any questions. And inshallah, in the next session, we will do the topic of sleep, the benefits of sleep, and what exactly happens in sleep, and stress, and how do we handle it, and how that causes ailments in our bodies, inshallah. Okay, so I'll end here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.